there's many smart Indonesians. Why don't you create your own things? Apa khabar Indonesia? Apa khabar Politik.com? Nama saya John Zachary. Saya akan berbicara dalam Inggris dengan subtitle Bahasa Indonesia. So before I begin this video, I have to give you a disclaimer. All the views and opinions expressed in this video are my own personal views and in no way reflect the views or opinions of Pinter Politik.com. Okay, that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So I haven't seen you for a while because I've been dealing with some of my own personal issues and busy in business. And as I've been getting poorer and poorer, the rich, or the super elite rich, have been getting richer and richer. Who am I talking about? Well, we all know who they are, the 1%.
Here's Johnny.
Yes, the 1%. And these people have benefited greatly from the coronavirus. What do I mean by the coronavirus? Well, I'll explain to you what cronyism is. Cronyism is the practice of partiality in awarding jobs and other advantages to friends or trusted colleagues. And that is exactly what's been going on now. The coronavirus, or cronyvirus as I like to call it, is making some people incredibly wealthy. Who am I talking about? Well, let's look at one of the biggest ones, Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos, since March to September 2020, his wealth has grown by 73.2 billion. That's a growth of 64.8%. Has your wealth grown 64.8% since March? I doubt if it has. And what does that mean in real terms for the lovely Mr. Bezos of Amazon? It means he's made $400 million a day. Yes, $400 million a day. Hard to even fathom. I'll try to put it in a figure that most of us will understand. It means that the mean wage for an average American is $49,736. So this would mean they would have to work for 8,000 years to make what Jeff Bezos makes in one day. Let's make it even simpler. How long will it take Jeff Bezos to make the average wage of the average American? Well, we can count it together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 seconds. Bing, 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 bing. Jackpot. He's made the average American wage. And it goes on and on. And he gets exponentially wealthier and wealthier. And Jeff is not alone. Let's look who else is on the lovely Wealth of US Billionaires list. Ah, Mr. Lovely Bill Gates, Billy Boy Gates, who wants to put a vaccine in all of us. All 7 billion of us, actually 7.5. He's very keen to vaccinate us because he loves humanity and he loves you and he loves me. Oh yes, you can trust in good old Bill. Well, Bill is not done as well as Bezos because he doesn't own Amazon and his reward is yet to come when you get your vaccine. So he has made another 18.3 billion. Ooh, not so good, but still a 16.7% rise in his wealth. So he's not doing too badly. Who else is on the list? Elon Musk, 278% rise in his wealth. Elon's doing well, and on we go. Who's on this list? Microsoft, Google, Walmart you might not have heard of. They own all the supermarkets. So just like in Indonesia, America's been told the small shops close down. Only the big supermarkets open. Of course, let the big supermarkets get all the business while the small shopkeepers don't make anything. That makes perfect sense to me because this virus is so intelligent, it knows the difference between a small shop and a large supermarket. So the Waltons, who own Walmart and many other supermarkets and subsidiaries of Walmart, have got 10 billion each richer. There are 3 of them. Isn't that lovely? So what does this all mean to you and me? It means we're moving into a K economy. For those of you that don't know what a K economy is, it means that while some, very few, are getting richer and richer, the rest of us are getting poorer and poorer. It means that some people are consolidating all the wealth and leaving virtually nothing for anybody else. And this is going on throughout the world. What's going on now is, to my mind, nigh on criminal. These people are taking all the wealth, they're getting all the help from the governments. Apparently some is trickling down to the people that really need it, but generally the big businesses are sucking up all these incentives, all these help to get through the coronavirus while they get richer and richer. And what's the end goal of this? What is society going to look like after 1% who already have all the wealth now have virtually all the wealth, where individuals like Bezos are wealthier than governments like Israel or the GDP of Israel? Don't you find that slightly worrying or slightly unnerving that these people now have the wealth of governments? So why do I keep on going on about these super wealthy 1% of people? Am I jealous of them? Well, of course I'm jealous of a guy that makes 400 million a day, but that isn't the point. It really is all about the inequality and the divergence that's happening in society right now, and how inept most governments have been in dealing with this pandemic. I'll give an example of the difference between China and the United States of America. In China, population 1.26 billion, they have a GDP of around 27.3 trillion. They've had 85,100 odd COVID cases, and they've had about 4,500 deaths. Their stimulus plan was 7 trillion, and the economy is still now growing at 3.6. GDP loss of around 5 trillion, total spent on COVID 11 trillion, and they're virtually COVID free. Cost of the death per person to the economy, 237 million. But China directed only about 10% of that money to individuals, and the rest went to business. China surplus now is close to 21 trillion. So China have come out of this all pretty well. They are nearly back to normal, and they are showing the rest of the world the way. Them and of course Sweden, which none of the fake news likes to talk about because they never locked up anyone or anything, and they now are virtually at herd immunity. But let's compare China with the United States of America. The United States population is around 330 million people. They've had 6,800,000 cases of COVID, 2.07% of the population, and they've had around 200,000 deaths. And of those, 97% have recovered, which means actually that America is entering herd immunity, but you won't hear that on the fake news either. So death USA to population was 0.0006, and in the US they've had a stimulus plan of 5 trillion, and they need to put another 7 trillion. US now has 30 million people out of work. The economy is at -8% and still dropping, and the economic GDP loss to America is around 18 trillion. They are in deep trouble. Total debt in USA is near 27 trillion. So they're at a minus and China are at a plus. And what does this mean? It means that despite this economic stimulus, there are only some people that have benefited. There are only some people that are getting richer and richer. And despite this huge amount of money taken from the taxpayers and put into the system, only a few people have really benefited. And I highlighted most of those names for you. Meanwhile, the average American is getting poorer and poorer. And this is reflected around the world. This is what's going on around the world. In my country, in the UK, it's the same. In many countries, including yours, employers now feel emboldened to ask staff to keep their job and work for just the pension and the medical cover with no salaries. Who wants to do that? Who wants to work for no salary? This is what's happening. Yet Mr. Bezos gets 400 million a day. So at some point, we all need to look at the systems that we've created, and we have to start redressing this imbalance and making things a little bit fairer. One of the things that I would suggest to everybody is that you do not buy anything from Amazon. You do not buy anything from these huge companies, and stop supporting people like Facebook, as an example, a totally pointless waste of a time website. If you do, there's many smart Indonesians. Why don't you create your own Facebook clone and have it only in Indonesia? And let's get rid of the smarmy Mr. Zuckerberg, who's also on that list, by the way. Why don't you create your own things? Buy from local producers, go to local shops. Let's stop supporting all these tech billionaires, these tech giants, because they're getting too much power and they're getting too greedy, and they're starting to affect democracy and freedom of speech and your right and my right to say what we want. This is John Zachary in the lovely UK, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care, Indonesia. Bye-bye.